Welcome everyone to class 2.2, which is going to deal with democracy. But before going into this, we will make a follow-up from last Friday. See, this is the problem with these kind of classes. It takes a long time before I have all the assignments from you, and then for me to present it. So this is a little problematic. I find myself. It's about it becomes the delay, but we'll have to live with it and get the best out of it. And I can tell you here from Corona Denmark, it's things are improving. Seemingly, the government have followed a very good strategy, and people have been very good to live up to it. So we have been talking about that we have had a close down, but in fact was most of the private businesses have in fact been open. It's just most of the shops which has been closed, and people have not. And people have really been following the guidelines. But now the government is opening up for the daycare centers and the schools, and they are also now, because the figures are so good. So it's and that is partly because the people in the risk groups, they have been extremely good in staying at home and ensuring that they were not being contaminated. So now the political discussion is which sectors are going to open first, and so in fact the different political parties are discussing it now. But it's extremely positive. And in the short run, it looks like it was the right strategy that the Danish government, or the right path that they took, compared to in Sweden, where they took a much more, how to say, liberal or less restrictive path, where in fact they have the double amount of people who are died, where Corona, and where people had also had been infected by the coronavirus. So so it's going to be interesting. And now it's about, we are not going to open too fast, because then there will be the idea is about getting a second round, or when we get the second round, that it will still also be controllable, and we don't have open the, how to say, society too much. As you may know, they are extremely restrictive in China nowadays, and but here they also have a narrative about that now we have solved it at home, but abroad that's where the danger comes from. So there's a lot of nationalism put into it, and in fact you see that in many countries where that also come in, just like in with the United States, when Trump used to call it the Chinese virus. So yeah, and that's that. So that was a short Corona update, and I'm taking this the presentation is taking place at home. It's still the office is not open today, or at least not for all of us, and we still try to take our precaution. So this is a follow-up from, that means last Friday, about the case studies, and the case studies which is perhaps the most important, or which is the most important method to deal with comparative politics, although that in a way that the case study is a big black box, because you can do it in so many different ways, and you have been presented some of the ways that in fact you can do it. And I would like to thank you for all the answers. I got 15 answers out of 15, and I think there's 2 who never have shown up to the class, or so I haven't heard anything from this. But very much thanks for the answers. There's, in compared to the session the Wednesday 8, there's 4 of you who still are missing to send me time zones, and it may be because you have joined a little bit later, and then you have to provide us all with a presentation of yourself. So in fact, we have some, how say, a face and some meat on who you are. And also I will try to some of my presentations, if there's something you have some special interest, to see whether that can be included. Then I would say it was delightful to read. It's a very good class, I would say. I had some experience with some other classes in other things in international relations, and I think at least it motivates me also in relation to this class, despite we are so far from each other, and also in the differences in time and delay in when you see my presentations. So thumbs up for that. Thanks a lot. Now I'll go through some of the questions, and some of the questions were relatively easy. It was easy to find also in the text, and some in fact, you had to reflect on. And one is about the misunderstanding, and I think nearly all of you got it right. But here are it's about misunderstanding that theoretical knowledge is much more valuable than practical knowledge. So, and that is in fact not the case. So it's about, say, in many places also about you have empirical knowledge in order to generate theoretical knowledge, but it is not more valuable than the other way around. But not to say that practical knowledge is more valuable than theoretical knowledge. That's very much about perspective. If you want to know more about that, we can have a discussion on that another time. One cannot generalize from a single case. Therefore, the single case study can contribute to scientific development. And that is very common, and I heard it many times. What can you say from one case? Nothing. You need many cases, and it depends on what in fact are the topic. As Einstein, he once said, it's not everything which can be counted which is worth counting, and there's things which is worth counting but cannot be counted. So it is about these things. But many things, of course, we can put a value to the different things. So we can make some, we can put some values, but when we put in values, then there's always the danger of some sort of a bias one way or another. It can be a single bias of yourself, but it can also be, if you're in a scientific community, that the community has a special bias which has developed over time. Then the case study is most useful for generating hypotheses. That means the case studies, you just it's more important just to find out what the hypotheses are. Seemingly, if this is very, very important, is that correct? So that is, we are going to test it afterwards with making some bigger surveys of some bigger surveys. And then the case study contains a bias toward verification. Yes, that's, but it's not more than, that's all kind of studies. And then in fact, it's very important that, in fact, that you, because in the case study, that you present, in fact, how you have been doing it. So people in that way can see what are, in fact, the different biases. What often happens is if you have a big N study, then people are very much jumping. They're not reading, and sometimes it's not even well described. But in the good ones, then of course you also describe how you get to the figures, how you have. But even there's always also some biases. So there's no differences in fact in relation to that. And then it's often difficult to summarize specific cases, and this is in fact the last one, which is not correct. Then the question 2, what is a critical case? A few of you didn't get it in that way, because but most of you got it, and it's very much you are very careful in order to find the cases, and it's in order to achieve information. And then it's about using common sense logic, or logic which, let's say, you go back to Aristotle, and that was the kind of logic which was already from that time. So it's again, if we want to see something saying, oh, this is supposed to be, this is a perfect case in relation to this, you would like to investigate. This is, and you have a lot of information on that case, and it's recognized in the different areas, and then you would like to investigate it. Yeah, but if it's in that case, it is where you really deep dig into the case, and then you find out, oh, this is a so-called perfect case. How is it not then in a not so perfect case? For instance, I think Flubier, he gives the example of working environment, whether it's good working environment in a place, and then find a company which is just everyone is saying, oh, this company is just having a fantastic working environment. And then you go into this saying, okay, because then you can use it to say, okay, this is in the way the situation are here, and this is other organizations or other companies, how they can follow. And then you find out that there are some big problems in this case, and then you say, oh, if this is the problem in this case, then it will not be better in other cases. So here it's in fact, it's important to deal with that issue instead of for instance, you make a lot of surveys or questionnaires, and it's again what will come out of the question. They can be perfectly made, but it's always again how will they be responded. And you can put a lot of resources also in order to find out, to ensure that it's a valid survey that you have made. How do you, according to Flubier, become good in undertaking case studies? And I'll just go short answer. It's by practicing. You start out, you get a lot of experience, and you add on to in fact what you know. And then he used very much the word intuition. And then, of course, intuition, in a way, from a research perspective, doesn't sound so good. It's intuition. So it's just to say that this is intuition is coming based on a lot of practices. So you study a lot, read about it, and then you do your own, and then you add on in relation to this. And some of the things what he calls intuition is in fact others, they sometimes call it tacit knowledge. That means you know something, but you cannot really explain it because you have so many different information, which based on your experience say, oh, this is in fact how it is. So this is this about tacit knowledge is in fact very interested, and it's very much relate to apprenticeship idea, that you start as an apprenticeship, you are novice, and then you evolve, and in the end you become a master of case studies. And then where you have to think a little bit, and I think all of you did a good job, because that was a little complicated, and you can use critical case or pragmatic case to comparative politics, but as many of you answered, it's not straightforward to do it, particularly the critical case. it easily becomes very artificially contrived, not, but perhaps not realistic or relevant. It's something we can make up, but in real life, it is not worth it. And then it is related to question 4, but also to 3. It's about, in his view, it's important to be open when undertaking case studies. And in fact, what he described himself, that the case may in fact change in relation to the topology due to new understanding. So that's so suddenly the case that you're doing, it doesn't need that saying, oh, this is completely wasted. I thought it was like this and this and this. He has his case from administration in the municipality or local commune, which is our smallest political entity, where he thought that here they were really doing everything rationally, and then he saw how power was coming to the forefront, and it was very much about how to secure job in the local area and the local companies. So there was some sort of a common interest from how to say the municipal board and the companies, private companies. Then, in fact, also because it was a special, what has been the interest of Kubrier in all his research? It is the study of power and how it's exercised. And power is something fluffy. It's not something you can contain and put it in a box and then it will last on forever. But power is there's many theories in relation to power. And he particularly focused on this decision making in relation to mega projects. Mega projects is like when you're going to make a big bridge, multi-billion billion dollar project. And then, in fact, based on his studies, he's now, in fact, it has become a whole new field about this mega project, and he is now professor at Oxford on mega projects. And then, based on this, started a single case project and things like that. Now he's even daring to, they call the iron laws of mega projects, where in fact, based on his study, it's probably possible to predict, in fact, some of the outcomes from these mega projects. For instance, they always become much more expensive than first anticipated. And I think they have more or less a figure also. They say it's about 40% at least that the cost will stay. So, and it's based on many different things why it is like this. People are underestimating cost, and then they are overestimating other aspects of these projects. And then in these mega projects, there are so many implicated, so it is also really, really complicated. And then there's the political interest. We are in Denmark, we are talking about that Minister of Traffic, they always would like to have a bridge or something like that. And then in the end, I just refer to two of his main books, which is more generally also about theory and case studies. That's the first book is about democracy in practice. How, in fact, is democracy being lived or being acted out? And he has a big chapter on theory and also about methodology. And then he has the one from 2001, which is more theoretically about and methods. Yes, that was all for there. Then I have a question. It's again, I'm still trying to see whether we can hold it on Monday using Zoom. So I hope that all of you can have it downloaded. but I need your answer regarding the possibilities of participating. If too many of you cannot make it, then in fact, I am in doubt whether we're going to push through. I put up the timing. I will do it 5 o'clock in the evening or afternoon Danish Germany time. And then I have written down what time it will start for the rest of you. So, but I will make an announcement, and then you can see that. And then you please respond before Friday. Before Friday 11 o'clock my time. So in fact, for you, it will be Thursday evening at the latest that you have to do it. Please, yes. Just to tell you that all the PowerPoint presentation, you don't have to look at the video and go through and back. In fact, you can see them in Canvas under the files. So there you can go in and see them. And some of them, and it may be interesting because it's not all of them where some of them I will skip very fast. Some of the slides will be skipped very fast in some of my presentations because they sometimes my presentation may tend to be long because I have reached an age, so I have a lot of information on the different things. So therefore there will be some PowerPoint presentations where it will not be in depth of all the slides. I'm not going to depth all the slides, but you can see them in Canvas, and then you can dwell on them yourself. And some of the issues, in fact, you can easily find yourself, and some of them you will also easily be able to, or you should be knowing some of the things because that's part of political science, or central part of political science, not necessarily comparative politics. And just also now it had been very much presentation and then individual work, but now seemingly all the 15, they are on the track. So today I have, I'll put you into groups in later stage where you will meet online and together respond the questions I have posed to you. And there will be some broad open questions, and then individually all of you will have to make a 100-word comment to the response of at least one group. That's that will be the task, but I will tell you again when we come to them. This is the end of last. It will be, yeah, this is the end of my following up from last time. If you have any question, write me. But then there will be a small pause, and then you can go to to democracy.